Will we need a calculator?
You may or may not, depending on your dividing skills. Okay, so when I say the word factor, most of you go back to when you learned how to factor. So you would do 36 breaks down into 6 times 6 and start your factor tree. And then 6 breaks down into 2 times 3 and 6 breaks down into 2 times 3. So then you finish off, and to get 36, you would take 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. So factoring means you're taking larger numbers or variables and breaking it down into its smallest factors. Okay, the smallest numbers. So let's do another one.
48.
48. Okay. 48.
6 and 8.
6 and 8. 6 breaks down into
3.
2 and 3. 8 breaks down into 4 and 2. What else can still break down?
4. 2 and 2.
2 and 2. So to get 48, you would do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. All 4 of your 2's and your 3. Because it broke down. When you break it down, you don't keep it. Okay, you only keep what you are in smallest terms. Okay, so you can do that method. Let me give you a bit of advice. It's going to drive you insane when you're trying to do big, long things like a polynomial. So, I was taught when I taught at Southmoreland Middle School how to do what I like to call the upside down birthday cake method. Okay, so here are all of your steps. Write down a polynomial under the upside down division sign. Find a number that divides evenly into each coefficient and constant. Divide by this common factor and keep dividing by other factors until the only number you can divide in is 1. Okay, the GCF is then found on the outside of the division sign. Place parentheses around the terms at the bottom of the division sign and write your answer with the GCF outside the parentheses. Woo! Okay, so it's a lot of words, but it's really not that bad. So open it up. We've got 4 examples to do. He's breaking my calculator. Okay, so step number 1. Put yourself an upside down division sign around your polynomial. Okay, now I need you to look at your numbers. We have an 18, a 15, a 3, and a 6. What number divides evenly into all 4, Tehran? 3. So the 3 goes on the outside. That's what you're dividing everything by. So what do I get when I divide 18 by 3? Keep your y squared. What's 15 divided by 3? Keep your y cubed. What's 3 divided by 3? 1, which means I can just keep my y. And what's 6 divided by 3? 2. Okay, so now I've got 6, 5, 1, and 2. Is there anything else that divides evenly into those numbers besides 1? No. So we're done with the numbers. The last thing you need to do is check and see if they share any variables in common. If they share them, it has to be shared amongst every term in your polynomial.
No.
Okay? What's stopping you?
The 2, it's 1 and the 3 is 1 and no. Just what?
The 2 has no y attached to it.
Oh, yeah, that is
So it has no exponent, or it has no variable attached to it. If it had a y, we could do something, but it doesn't. So we are now finished.
Yay.
So your final answer then is 3. That came from here. And then inside parentheses is what's left over. 6y squared minus 5y cubed plus y minus 2.
We gonna bracket it.
So if the 2 had the variable and the exponents were like different like that, we still combine them.
We could still pull out y's. We'll have an example like that, and I'll show you how to handle that. Okay.
So when do you write?
When do I bracket what? What brackets are you talking
When you
about?
put it in brackets instead of parentheses.
Like a square bracket?
Yes.
We don't. Okay. Once you pull out a greatest common factor, how do I check myself?
To see if they go back in there.
Multiply it through. So I would take 3 times 6y squared. Well, that becomes 18y squared. I take 3 times negative 5y cubed. So I get negative 15y cubed. 3
No, Dad, you're writing.
times y. So 3y. And finally 3 times negative 2, which is negative 6. If this matches your original, you have done this correctly.
Pardon the interruption for this very important announcement. We'd like for everyone to give a special congratulations to Coach Charles Mormon, who was voted as Teacher of the Year. Please make sure to stop by Coach Mormon, Jim, and congratulate him on this year's election as our Teacher of the Year. Thank you.
Okay. Guys, we still have stuff to do. All right, take a look at this one. I've got 45, 1, 15, and 5.
One.
It's gonna have to be 1.
Oh, the one.
Oh, because of that.
Remember, when there's nothing written here, there's an unwritten 1. I can't divide anything into 1 except for 1. So just because everything else is divisible by 5, I still can't do anything because of that 1. Okay, they all have to be divisible by that number. So be careful. If they don't have the number written there, write yourself in a 1. There's nothing against it. Okay. Okay, now take a look at all 4 terms. This has x cubed. This has an x, this has an x squared, and this has an x. Okay, so x cubed means I have how many x's? 3. X times x times x. X, there's just 1. X squared means I have 2, and this means I have 1. If you look at those, how many total does each one share in common?
1.
1. Okay, so I can actually pull out an x. So when I do that, this disappears, this disappears, this disappears, and this disappears. When I take out one of the x's, each one of them loses an x. So that means my x cubed becomes x squared. My x's disappear, and my x squared becomes x. Yes.
So why would you do that with an X and not a Y?
We're not done yet.
Got you.
We're not done yet.
She made that like. She made that different.
Yes.
Can you do it when it like when it's like a Y and something else like together, but it's like not number separated? See,
Oh.
5, you see how it's 5?
I mean, like if it was a variable by itself.
Yeah, like that variable is not by itself. It has like X, Y.
Oh,
Z.
we're gonna do the same thing with y's, and we're gonna do the same thing with z's.
That's a long
Okay.
process.
We're not done yet. We're not done yet.
Process, man.
Okay, so hold up, because y'all are gonna try to do way too much at once, and your heads are gonna go and explode. I don't like brains all over my floor.
That's
I'm
what you're
watching
worried
them all.
about with our
Right,
brains exploding?
What, brains?
Yes. So with our brains exploding, you're worried about our brains being overflowing,
Yes.
not us.
Not us.
No, no.
Dying.
I'm worried about having to clean up your brain matter on my floor.
That's yeah. That kind of hurt.
I love you.
No, I don't feel it.
Okay, so when I get rid of that, I'm left with 45. And again, once I get rid of one x, that leaves me with x squared. Y's haven't been touched yet. Z's haven't been touched yet. Minus, this x disappeared. So all I'm left with is y squared z plus 15. My x squared just becomes x now. Y to the fourth minus 5. This x cancels out. Y z squared. It's something that they all shared in common, so you pull it out front. You take it out of the equation. Okay, hold up because we're not finished. I'm going to switch colors on you. Okay, so we've taken care of your x's. So Kathy and Bobo has already said, what the heck, there's y's and z's. Well, guess what? We're going to take care of those too. Okay, so does each one of them have a y? Yes. There's a y here, and a y here, and a y here, and a y here. How many y's do they share in common?
One.
Just one. This one has 2, this one has 2, this one has 4, this one has 1. So I can pull out one y. That's all they share in common. Yes.
So it'll always be like one of one variable.
Not necessarily. So if you have,
Rapido.
so if I had something like y to the 6th plus, I don't know, y to the 5th plus y to the 4th plus y to the 3rd. So this one has 6, this has 5, this has 4, this has 3. So I can take 3 of them out
Okay.
because that's what they share in common.
Yeah.
Okay. So you always want to take the smallest amount out. And because my smallest amount here is just one of them, that's what I'm taking out. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Will we have to do that?
Possibly, yes.
So like if the y had a 2 on it, we could
You would
just
take
write
out
it.
2. Yes. Okay, so I'm removing one y. So that means this first one becomes 45. I didn't touch my x this time. I started with 2, so now I only have 1. Didn't touch the z's. Minus, I had 2. Now I only have 1. Didn't touch the z's. 15, didn't touch the x. I started with 4. Now I've got 3. And this one, I started with 1, took it away. So all I have left are my z's. Okay. Now take a look at your terms. Do they all share a z?
Yes. No. Oh, that's
No.
15.
This one doesn't have a z, so I can't pull out any z's. I am finished. So now your final answer, x, y comes out front, and inside the parentheses are 45, x squared, y, z to the 3rd, minus yz, plus 15, x, y to the 3rd, minus 5z squared.
That's a lot.
This is easy. Like,
It
you can, like,
is.
mess up one letter and, like,
This is why I like the birthday cake method. I feel like when you do the other method with the factoring, there's numbers here, there, and everywhere. And at least with this method, your greatest common factor is all along the left, and then everything that's left is all along the bottom. I will also show you how Jonathan was doing his, so some of you might prefer that method too.
I mean, that's
Is
not
this-
I don't even care.
Okay, This one's a little bit smaller. Yay. Okay, so Jackie just said I've got 32, 16, and 8.
4.
That means 8 goes into all of them. But I'm going to take your method. I'm going to take yours.
See?
Watch what happens.
you.
Hold on.
Oh, that's a bad thing.
You're correct.
Crap.
You are completely correct. But hers is just going to take a little longer. So,
Oh, never mind,
listen.
never mind, never mind.
Stop. It's not going to be that much longer. Okay. So, Jackie said I can jump straight to 8. If your brain took you to 4 like Harley, it's not wrong. Okay. So, watch what happens when I do this with 4. Okay. So, if I put 4 out front, what's 32 divided by 4? X to the 4th. Minus 16 divided by 4 is? X cubed. Plus 8 divided by 4 is? X squared. Okay. We're not finished yet. Okay. Remember, we always went through and double checked my numbers again. So now I have an 8, I have a 4, and I have a 2. I can pull out a 2. That's my husband. 4x to the 4th minus 2x cubed plus x squared.
Calling you.
Are you supposed to marker? Marker.
Oh.
Dang, that's the only thing I like.
Okay. So if you would have done it with the 8 that Jackie said, you would have been done in 1 step. Harley's just took 2 steps. But guess what? What's 4 times 2?
8.
You still end up with that 8. Even though we broke it down into 4 and 2 instead.
I'm sorry, y'all.
It's okay. I have kids that need to literally go 2, 2, 2.
Oh God.
What you mean to do?
Like
Break it
they,
down.
they can
Like
only
break
go
it
by
down
2.
and divide by 2
Oh my
each
God.
time. However your brain is going to process it, I need you to handle that. So it's okay. All right. So now, do they all share X's?
Oh, now I see why
Yes.
it's elevated.
How many X's?
Got that out.
2.
2. This has 4, this has 3, this has 2. So I can pull out 2. When I pull out 2, this becomes 4x
2
squared.
Oh, squared.
You're fine. 2x.
2x.
Okay, don't forget though, when I get rid of this x squared and nothing's left, there is an unwritten 1 there. Don't forget about that coefficient of 1. A lot of people lose that. Okay, if you need to write the 1 here so you don't forget it, do that. No, just 1. Because you took away all your x's. Because you only had 2 there to begin with. So when I took the 2 out, there's no x's left.
So you had to put one, you can't get the blank.
No, because that'll mean it's 0. So your final answer here should be 8x squared. Your final answer is 8x squared times 4x squared minus 2x plus 1. Yes.
So the factor on the outside, like it doesn't have to go even. The exponent on the outside doesn't have to go evenly into all the exponents. Like if you had a 2, all of them don't have to be divisible by 2.
Yes, they all have to be divisible by 2.
So we have 2x cubed, and then we have x squared.
Oh, you're talking variables instead of numbers.
Yeah.
So basically what this boils down to, Kathy, is x to the 4th is 1, 2, 3, 4 x's. X to the 3rd is 3, and x to the 2nd is 2. So they share 1 in common. They share 2 in common.
Okay, so just have-
So then this leaves me with 2, which is your x squared. This leaves me with 1, which is your x, and then the other one leaves me with nothing. So it's more like what they share in common that you're pulling out rather than dividing it. I mean, if you really think about your exponent rules, if I do x to the 4th divided by x squared. That means that's x to the 4 minus 2, which is x squared. So technically dividing.
Or something.
No, Altiana took it. I'm pissed.
All right, we got one more. It's 10 after. I don't. What have we lost? My goodness.
Everything.
Heads if they weren't attached. Okay. 82, 16, and 8.
8. Oh, wait. I don't know.
Okay.
8.
I go into
No, I don't think 8.
8 does not go into
I was
82.
playing.
Okay.
86. It's 2.
Yeah, 6 can't go in there evenly.
Bubba, shut up. Well, let's just shut up and let Miss Smith tell us.
And I mean, the conversations are good.
Oh, 2.
So,
What in it
It's
before?
two. It's
Oh,
What
see,
in
look,
it before?
got me scared.
Oh,
That's two.
yeah, amen.
so we know that 8 can go into 16 and 8, but can it go into 82?
No.
No, so we can't use it.
And 4.
We know 4 goes into 8 and 16. Does that go into 82?
No.
No, we can't use that either. But they're all even, so I can divide by 2. Oh, you need my keys. Guys, say hi to my husband.
Hello. I like your wife. She's cool.
And next time you better roll over and get that charger for her.
Man, must be nice. That's so cute.
What'd you say, Tay?
I said next time you better roll over and get that charger for her.
Make sure you move my wallet and my clothes. Thank you. He couldn't find his car keys this morning.
Did you take them?
No, we still can't find his car keys.
So I let Mrs. Smith find them.
All right, come on. Come on. Okay, so we decided 8 doesn't work, 4 doesn't work, but I can still divide everything by 2. So when I do that, I end up with 41, x to the 4th, y to the 2nd, z to the 3rd. Woo! Minus 8, x to the 3rd, y to the 7th, z to the 11th. Woo! One more. Because it's fun. 4, x squared, y to the 9th, z to the 2nd.
Y to the
Woo! Oh man. So now we got to do the x and then the y and then the z. Okay. So 4 x's, 3 x's, 2 x's. X squared. So when I take away 2, that leaves me with 2. Didn't touch the y's, didn't touch the z's. Minus 8. I started with 3, I'm now left with 1.
Can you leave the 1 on top of the X?
You can leave the 1 there. Just know that when you take multiple choice tests, it's not going to be written there. It's an unwritten exponent. Okay.
So you just divided it by
Wait, hold on.
x squared?
Yes. So I started with 2. I took away 2. My x's are gone. But I still have 9 y's and 2 z's.
But at least we know how to do the process. So why are you dividing it by
Sorry. I had to.
x squared?
Because you're trying to find the greatest common factor. So the biggest thing that they all share in common. Okay. Okay. Now look at my y's. How many y's do they all share in common? 2. You've got 2, 7, and 9.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
So you always want to go with the smallest number. So y squared. So 41x squared. My y's have disappeared. Z to the third. Minus 8x. What am I left with when I take away 2 y's? To the fifth.
Oh, yeah.
Z to the 11th. Plus 4. Y to the
7.
Z to the second. Whoo, one more.
Z to the second, right? Yeah.
Z to the second is correct because I have 3 here, 11 here, and 2 here. So that leaves me finally with 41x to the second. How many Z's are left? 1, because I started with 3. Minus 8x, y to the fifth. How many Z's are left? 9. Plus 4, y to the seventh. And that's it. There's no more Z's left. We took them all away. Okay. Your greatest common factor is everything on the left. So 2x squared, y squared, z squared times 41x squared z minus 8x y to the fifth, z to the ninth, plus 4y to the seventh.
Wow.
Woo! Okay.